Hi, this is Devi, and in this session, we'll have a look at Kubernetes pod basics. We'll cover pods, labels, annotations, and namespace. You must be having Kubernetes cluster already created in your local. You can connect to GKE, or you can use Minikube to create a cluster in your local. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so what is a pod? A pod is the simplest deployable unit in Kubernetes. It can be a web application, a microservice. For example, you can see here you have two worker nodes and you have one pod which is a web application pod, and you have three instances of order service pod. Web application can interact with the order web service pod. So we have one web app pod and three microservices. Okay, let's quickly create some pods. Okay, so I already have a cluster. I'm pointing to a GKE cluster. So I'll create probably a simplest pod using imperative commands. So in Kubernetes, you can create a pod using imperative commands or using declarative commands. So first is just say nginx if image equal to nginx. Now this should be creating a new pod. So here you can see that the pod is getting created. Yeah, now it's created here. Okay, so now I just delete node nginx. Or before I delete this, you can describe to see what this pod has. Yeah, you can see that this pod we specify the image as nginx, so it is coming from Docker hub, and yeah, these are the events for this pod. So it says the created container nginx, and then finally it says started nginx. Now that I've created a pod, I'll just delete the pod. Okay, it should get deleted now. Okay, got deleted. Okay, let's quickly create a pod now. So you can also use YAML to create to define the configurations for the pod, and then instead of using imperative commands, you can use YAMLs. So I'll quickly create a new pod. v1 kind pod. Let's say nginx-pod. Nginx, and the image name is nginx. Okay, that's it. So I create the configuration files. Now I'll just go here. Okay, apply -f1-pod. Yep. So now the pod is created, and again you can delete the pod using the same command, delete pod nginx pod, or you can simply specify the file name here. I'll say one-pod.yml. Okay, now it got deleted. Now the next one is labels. So what is a label? It provides a way to add some information to your object so that it can be used to filter them later. So you can create a label, and then finally you can search for pods based on this label. For example, I'll create a pod with some labels. Simply say let's say I create a um, okay, in this case what I did was like I created three separate pods with these labels: environment equal to dev and app equal to testboard. I can see that now three pods are running. So if you want to select only the dev pods, dev environment pods, so what you need to do is just say okay, get pods hyphen selector env equal to dev. And if you want only the UAT pods, then you get this. You can also use commands like this, not equal to dev, so that you'll get the other two pods. Okay, you can issue commands like pods instead of selector. You can specify for L, and then you can say env in dev and UAT. So this is another way to get it. Or you can issue say not in of dev. Okay, yep. Okay, let's quickly delete all the pods. Okay, what we saw was how to create a pod with labels using declarative commands, imperative commands. You can also use the configuration files for it. So the way to do that is you just have to add these to the pod definition. So I create this and then I'll say okay, so get pods. So you can also say if I show labels. So yeah, you can see it got created. So the next is annotations, or so you can simply say get pods hyphen l say app equal to label pod basic. Should be getting the same. Okay, delete hyphen f2. Okay, for annotations, unlike labels, annotations are not used to identify and select objects. They are used by tools and libraries to retrieve some metadata information about a pod or any Kubernetes objects. So, how do you create annotations? So, what we do is we create, let's say we create a new file for this. Okay, so the same. Now, instead of labels, you just have to put annotations. That's the only difference you say. Instead of labels, just add annotations here. Now, so it's okay. 3-pod with annotations. Yeah, now it got created. So you can actually say okay, describe pod annotations demo. Here you can see the annotations got added here. Okay, and on namespaces. Namespaces are ways by which you can organize your applications and categorize them. It can be used to organize application like based on teams, environments. For example, if you have a lower environment or a dev environment, so you can create a namespace called dev. You can create a namespace called UAT, etc., and put all your pods into that namespace. So how do you create your namespace? So we just have to say, first of all, let's see what are the namespaces that are already there. So you can say namespaces, or you can say kget-ns. So that should list out all the existing namespaces. So by default, whenever you create a pod, it will always land into the default namespace. So just say k. So if you want to create your own namespace, you just say k create namespace. Let's create test namespace. So if you say kget-ns, then it should list out this extra namespace. So you can create a new pod, run nginx image equal to nginx, and select the namespace that you want to deploy to. Now you can see that this is not running here. The reason is this will only pick the pods from the default namespace. So you just say kubectl get all -n test -namespace. Okay, so now you can see that. So you can also delete the namespace, okay, delete ns test namespace. Yeah, now you say, yeah, it says no resources found on the namespace because we deleted the namespace. Okay, you can also use um, YAML file for creating a namespace. So yeah, so here say less yeah, my test namespace got created. And same way, when you create a pod, if you want to specify the namespace where you want to create the pod, you can also specify using this using the configuration file. So all you need to do is just have to say namespace colon test hyphen namespace. Okay, apply b. Okay, so if you say k get pods hyphen n test namespace. Yeah, it took some time. Okay. So every time you say k get pods, you see that you will only return the pods that are the default namespace. But let's say that this is the namespace that you will be working every day. So you want to change the default namespace to point to the test namespace. So what you have to do is you can use the kubectl config command. Kubectl set context command to set that namespace, default namespace. So what you have to do is config set context, and then so this I've specified as default. So if you want to change it to test namespace, now you can see that it is so every time you say get pods, it's going to pick from the test namespace. No need to specify that hyphen yet. So okay, we'll see in the next session.